The truth is that women are still not equal, and women in film, and all you have to do is look at the credits to know it isn't. That there's, in the United States, very few women directors, and anytime we have 2 women directors in one year, they think we have cracked the glass ceiling, and that's great. We do have those breakthroughs. So when Catherine Bigelow won for Best Director, that was a huge, huge breakthrough for women. But in a year, look, and you just won't see women's names among who wrote the scripts. Once in a while, I mean, Diablo Cody won for Juno and for Best Screenplay. But there needs to be more openness and more nurturing of women and more models for women, because if you can't see a model that did it, you just give up very easily. And I think, I have a couple theories about women in film. One is I think that men and women, whatever they do, just need to be conscious. So sometimes I met a producer once who was really, very open to women. And he was ready to cast a movie, and he said, I have my short list. And I said, are there any women on the short list? And he said, no. No, there aren't. And I said, well, if producers who are open to women, when they're making up their short list, if they just said, I don't have a woman on this list, let's think for a minute, are we just not thinking of somebody who really does belong on here? I said, 30 seconds of thinking is all I would ask of them. Just think. And a lot of times they say, oh my gosh, we forgot, such and such a woman who really should be on here. Now maybe she's not going to be the director, maybe you're not going to choose her. Simply think about it. And same thing when looking at your crew. Most of the crew is men, except maybe costumer and maybe makeup. And say, just ask yourself, is there any woman? And I also talk about ethnic minorities. So I said, is there, in America, is there any African American you're overlooking, or any, just anyone? Because our minds go right down the path of whatever it is we know. So, and I mean, women can do this too. So when I do my master class in script consultant, I tell my hosts, I want to have at least a third of either sex. So if I'm mainly getting women, I want you to find me some guys, and if I'm mainly getting guys, find me some women. A third. I'm not asking for, I said try to do 50-50, but we have got to have that consciousness. And one executive I talked about, I said, how do you do this? I mean, you can't count on 50-50. And she said, you try for a healthy third. That's what you try for. Now, that doesn't mean you take the person who's less qualified. It's really that you think about it, and you just raise your consciousness. And I think you also take responsibility. So, I mean, I really try to be aware of this. Even to the extent when I started out, my career consultant said, look at who your clients are as screenwriters. She said, if you're getting all men or all women, there's something going wrong. And so I would periodically check. And I'd say, I think I'm not saying it's half and half, but I don't see it unbalanced. And, every once in a while I say, oh, who are my clients? And I say, yeah, I had that guy, and then I had that woman, then I had another woman, then I had 2 men. Then I'll just think about it. And I am aware that there's a lot of good women producers, and certainly not unusual for me to be hired by a woman producer. It's just I'm still not seeing women directors' names on very many films. Films going into production, a lot of times more apt to be male than female. And again, it's something to be aware of. One has to look at it carefully to say why. And they, well, you know what, there's some good women, and I just haven't been thinking of them. So I just say, guys, think, and women. And I said, for women, don't be afraid to put yourself out there diplomatically So I've talked to you about women teachers that some of them you hadn't heard of, but they've written books. They're very good teachers. And I said, well, somebody has to be mentioning the names, otherwise they kind of get lost.